Bobi Wine is an indisciplined one. There are more disciplined people. SACCO, for all, then number 3, I want to start a SACCO for all because the elected leaders, we have got a big number of elected leaders. If you take the LC 1 committee, these are 11 people. And the villages in Uganda are more than 61,000. So you are talking of 600,000, almost 700,000 people. Now, those leaders apparently have been excluded from wealth creation because when they go there, they are told, for you are a leader, you don't come here. And then they have nowhere to go. So you have all those leaders in the LC1 system. Then you have the councillors at the sub-county. Then you have the other leaders. Then you have the NRM leaders, the structures of the leagues. And I invite the other parties, if they have structures, they are most welcome. Once you are a leader, you are a leader. It must be a registered party. No, I cannot. I don't want to be arrested for aiding and abetting illegality. But by working with groups which are not registered under the law. So these leaders, we shall also form a fund for them, so that they can have their own bank. And even when he retires, even when he's no longer elected, he should remain. He should remain. Once he was there, he should remain, so that we give them support. SACCO, I will see how to, I will bring a supplementary if necessary. The value addition fund, then the value addition fund would be at the zonal level, the 130 billion which the minister read here. That is for import substitution and for export promotion. It will be at the zonal level, Lango, Acholi, West Nile, and so on. In the Western system, they call this fair comment. If you got the Western calls, say, this man, this person, me, what did he say? He said, my mother was this and that. Is this true that it was? Then if it was, then it's fair comment. It's no problem. But with the Banyankole system, even if it is true, you have no right to bring it up because it has no useful purpose. The court would only concern itself in what they call establishing the facts, in quotes. However, some of the facts are not helpful to society. Similarly, last week, I admit that I committed the offense of Oxtiora, the opposition, when I said that they were neither government nor opposition, but they were doing, I used some strong words there, which I don't want to repeat here. I will do it. Oh, very, very good. And I quoted some facts. Like the modern courts, to prove my point. The points I put before the public court were that for 24 years of Uganda's independence, I was in the opposition. I was in DP from 1960 to 70, briefly in UPC, September 1970 to January 1971, only 5 months. From NASA, 1971 to 1980, UNLF, 1971 to 80, PRA, NRA, NRM, 1981 to 1986. So for 24 years of Uganda's independence, I was actually in the opposition. Therefore, I am an expert on opposition issues. However, it was during those years that I helped most, first the citizens of North Ankole, and later the wider Uganda, and even Africa in some modest ways. With the local community, the Banyankole, the main challenge was to wake them up from tradition and help them to see the importance of modernization as we keep the positive elements of tradition. That was the big problem. And you, honorable members, you better pay attention to this issue. This is a modern world. People need money, but you find people, they're just seated in tradition without looking for money. One day I was going to Chisozi, very early in the morning, at Buloba. Buloba is only 12 miles from Kampala. I saw a big group of more than 40 people with nets and dogs and bears. Dogs had bears that they were going to hunt. What were they going to hunt? They were going to hunt something called omusu. And I said, how much does omusu weigh? They told me it weighs like 5 kilos or what? And they would spend the whole day. Now, once they kill the musu, how will they share it? 30 people. So it's really not correct to not help our people to know that they are living in the modern world and that they need to know how to live in that modern world. So the challenge of which I confronted in Ankole was to wake up those Banyankole from their traditions and tell them how to try and survive in the modern world. Our community's tradition of exogamous marriages, as opposed to endogenous marriages, must be maintained because it avoids inbreeding called obutembani Nyankole, etc. However, the Banyankole custom of drinking milk without boiling it are to face my wrath when I came to know that a Frenchman, Louis Pasteur, in the year 1862, had discovered organisms that cannot be seen by our naked eyes, known as bacteria, that do both evil and good, depending on their types, that are found in foods, water, etc. However, some of the bacteria, such as lactococcus, cause milk to ferment from fresh milk to amakamo, which the English call sour milk, because they do not have enough words. At the age of 14, in the year 1959, I left my local area of Ntungamo, Kafunjo, where a man by the name of Tashovia has mysteriously taken possession of my land and built a very big school there. And I went abroad to Mbarara. For the first time, stay away for some months from home. The Ntungamoists regarded Mbarara only 40 miles away as so far away that they would say, it will take you a long time, like somebody going to Mbarara. And it was just 40 miles away. In Mbarara High School, Sunday was a visiting day. You could go out of school to visit relatives, etc. My first Sunday, I visited a family that was known to my parents. The second Sunday, I visited Mbarara government stock farm, which the Banyankore were calling Farm Yomjungu, the white man's farm. There I saw for the first time modern farming practices, dipping cattle to kill ticks, rotational grazing, etc. The cattle, both indigenous and exotic, looked very fat and growing fast. When things were definite and final. Nevertheless, during that time, it was during that time that I started working on changing the people around me, change Uganda through the student movement, contributing to Africa by visiting the liberated areas of Mozambique in 1968, while still a university student. With the socio-economic transformation of North Ankole, although I belonged to the opposition, DP, I worked under and with some positive elements of UPC, which was controlling the government. Why? I did not want UPC to interfere with my mission of transforming my people from nomadism, subsistence farming, etc., to quasi-modern farming, to education for their children, better health, better houses, etc. As the DP supporters, we had tried to win in 1962, but the UPC and Kawaka Yeka, using hooliganism, attacking people, cutting people's coffee, gerrymandering constituencies, etc., had been declared winners by Mr. Pigram, the departing British Director of Elections. As a pro-people activist, I could not stop working on the modernization of my people because UPC and Kabaka Yeka had undemocratically grabbed power, assisted by the incompetent election machinery of the British. As long as the new rulers did not stop people going from attending classes in the school system and did not stop us from sensitizing our people about modernization, we continued. Our method of work was to use small meetings to pass on the non-political, purely developmental message of the 4 steps. Stop nomadism, go from subsistence farming to commercial farming, do so with the Echibaro. Echibaro is Chura, Otita, Aymar. Chura is Luo. And later on, started talking about stopping land fragmentation on inheritance. No message about politics that would invite the clamp down from UPC after they had destroyed their opportunistic allies, the Kabaka Yeka. In fact, after our studies in the universities, many of us joined government departments, and I even joined UPC in September 1970, and even encouraged the Nyabusho's area people to join UPC. Political parties are a means to an end. They cannot be an end in themselves. The end is to transform the people, the family, the area, the country, and Africa. Transform them how? By making everybody join the modernity of the four sectors: commercial agriculture with Chura, industries, like the minister was showing you here, services, and ICT. To have subsistence farmers in your area continuously, and you call yourself a leader, you are a mockery of leadership. That's not Oktiora, that's now advice, Okhabra. That is Okhabra now. This is Okwabra, it's not Oktiora. We actually wanted to help UPC deliver, but their internal weaknesses could not allow them. Because of Benchwanko was on my side. The other ones were on the other side. Because there is no personal enmity between me and those families. Would that be the case with these younger generations had I assassinated their parents beyond the usual losses of war? Would they be able to work with me? If apart from, because we were fighting. But I never went to hunt any one of them to kill him as an individual. Huh? Before the war, we were very careful not to arouse the suspicion of UPC, which would cause them to interfere with our socio-economic transformation efforts. I remember, for instance, the incident in the Kazo Primary School, where all the elders of what is now Chirukura district were gathered to discuss the plans of building Karo Secondary School as a parents' school. The issue of fundraising came up. This was in 1967, when I was aged 22 years of age. I warned them not to collect funds without the knowledge of the UPC government. Otherwise, they may think that we are raising money to fight them. When I checked, I found that there was even a law known as the Public Collections Act of 1966. I had to come with two elders to the police headquarters in the Parliament building here, and we got the permission of the police. So we had to act legally and transparently, so that the UPC don't suspect us. Because when they suspect us, of course, for them they were even more dangerous. They could act irrationally and kill us. No, tear gas is a milder, non-lethal, disciplining means. Besides, the UPC government had negative elements, but it also had positive elements. One example were the programs of His Excellency John Babiha of modernizing the livestock industry by introducing tick control measures, water harvesting by way of dams, creating beef ranches such as the Ankole Massacre Ranching Scheme, state eradication programs, etc. They completely failed. It was because of the two positive points that they were somehow possessed, that we were ready to work with them and under them to see how far we could push matters in the desired direction. Since they were panicky, not well informed about security and defense, ideologically limited, and therefore putschist. Putschist, people want things shortcuts. We were careful not to make them misunderstand us as people who intended to fight them. To do so would be ideologically and strategically bankrupt on our side, because they would then deny us the opportunities to preach transformation like we did between 1966 and 1971. When, therefore, I see groups who say that they are opposition, but preach disruption, support arson, do not use many opportunities that are available to sensitize people under them to metamorphose socio-economically, yet some of them are drawing huge salaries from the consolidation fund, I am tempted to use a strong negative word to describe them, but I will keep it to myself for now. That is when, therefore, during the State of the Nation address, I committed an offense of oxyora, the opposition. Under the Banyankole Bahoro Banyakitara jurisprudence, I would nevertheless most likely escape punishment, a cheneso, because the community is shouting in unison that Bakatukabya, we are tired of the negativity of those people. Because that's what the Karamojong were telling me. Actually, this was a formal declaration in their speech. You go and read. Do you have a copy of the speech? You give it to them. Regarding the Kurengeza, we now come to the Kurengeza. It is what in English they would probably call a cryptic remark. It is like a boy who notes that his mother was sitting carelessly around the fire that the acid test of leadership in the underdeveloped pre-capitalist societies of the third world is the ability to wake up communities to go from negative traditions to the money economy with the Chivaro, Chura, or Aymar or Tita, where this has been done, such as in South Korea, China recently, the societies have become affluent. Where it has not been done, like in Central and South America, Africa, etc., you can see the misery of the people on the television. People from, these people whom Trump is trying to keep out. Those have leaders, but they are leaders who don't know what to do. So their countries, those countries are stuck. Well, I don't have people going to America to go through the borders. I regard it as a big mistake to be part of a society, and I am a leader, but I fail to guide them. Ideas-wise, about socio-economic metamorphosis. The Kurenja, therefore, is a benign activity that will not attract a Beneso punishments. Just the transformation of the people in the cattle corridor has enabled them to build better houses, use solar power, do water harvesting, sponsor children in universities with private sponsorship, etc. But those 68% are people whom you can influence. We should not go on with that disequilibrium, because this 68% of the homesteads, they are under you. They are the ones who vote for you. Yes, some indirect tax, yes, but not the big one. The big money comes from other people. Our traditionalists need to also be careful. Europe was greatly assisted by the Enlightenment and rationalist movement that started from the classical times of Plato and others. The British Archaeological Society people, led by Dr. Sutton, did excavation in Ntutsi and Bobi. He found that those settlements were bigger than the city of London that time. These were they were the dynasties earlier than the dynasties colonialism found here. The dynasties whom you know. The dynasties of the Balangira of Buganda, Babito in Tora and Bunyoro, Bahinda in Ankole, Karagwe, Buhaya, Chigoma, etc. That was in 900 AD. These were the dynasties of the Batembuzi and the Batrezi. These kingdoms have therefore been here for a very long time, certainly more than one millennium, 1,000 years. There is a country which did not exist that time. This is the United States of America. It is only 400 years old. If you start with 1623, when the first European settlers arrived in that area. It is now the most powerful country in the world, more powerful than all the old kingdoms of Europe, not to mention the ones of Africa. Therefore, the traditionalists, like the careerists I talked about above, need to be careful. Do not continue to kugumaza, divert the attention of our people, or even to obstruct them. Says Museveni had told me about his determination to make her daughter the heir. I am a traditionalist, but a traditionalist who wants a strong Africa. That is what I told the Buganda Luchiko in my speech of the 2nd of August 1993, when I opened that body. Africa cannot be strong with the traditions that disable her. Therefore, all traditions must be audited with that in mind. I saw lawyer Mulira arguing legally about the issue of the heir to Professor Museveni. With me, when dealing with issues, I never start with the legality, but with legitimacy. Is it legitimate? Is it reasonable? Is it rational for girls to inherit their parents' wealth and responsibilities in some circumstances? In the modern context, the answer is an unequivocal yes. Yes, the Banyankore in the past never allowed girls to inherit for very good reasons of that time. The Banyankore, like the other tribes of this area, are exogamous. Exogamous means you marry outside your clan. You don't marry within. When you marry within, they call it endogamous. They are exogamous and also patrilineal. Moreover, the clans were sometimes at war with one another. Since the girl had to marry outside the clan, was it wise to allow her to take the heritage of the clan to the clan of her marriage? what if this clan was to fight us tomorrow? Because that was the logic of that time. What if that clan where this girl has gone, what if they were turned against us? Those were the considerations of that time, and they were legitimate. Today, however, the considerations are different. The main challenge is to produce modern wealth. This is the challenge we have, produce modern wealth. Produce modern wealth, commercial agriculture, factories, hotels, ICT companies, etc. Is it reasonable for tradition to force a Murwana or a Sibambi who in his life has built up a string of multi-billion shillings business companies to bequeath all this to allow the nephew because he is a male, or to leave the powers of selecting the heir to the clan members, some of whom may not have bothered to wake up to the need of modernization. Unless, of course, we do not know well what a Muska is the heir, is supposed to do. In Ankole, the Muska meant inheriting the property and even the wife in Ankole in the past. Recently, I had to atone for the injustice of my grandfathers, who in the 1930s had given all the cows of one of their brothers, Kachuya, to his brother, Kabuguma, my direct grandfather. Because Kachuya had died as Entreche. Entreche is to be childless. You may have had children, but they die. His two daughters, Koushuru and Kakwanjire, notwithstanding. This grandfather of mine had two girls. He died in the 1930s. But his brothers, my grandfather, the direct one, and the great-grandfather of Kangwaji, the other Tanzanian. So because their brother died, he had only girls, they said he was an Entreche. He was childless. The girls were not children. So they took his cows and gave them to my grandfather now. He inherited the cows of his brother. And the only right the girls had was to, and when my grandfather died, he gave the same cows to my uncle in 1941. Now, the only thing the girls had to do was to come to my uncle's home when they, bakwita okuhikira, mulyahikira, mulyaguma nimuhikira, mulyaguma nimuhikira, okuhikira to, when you come, Umuruganda mwechiri? In Rukonjo. Oh, okay. Rukonjo, they speak some distorted Runyankore.